sister team, we thought, okay, maybe they'll just go for the situation where you want team-related picks, you pick up Martin and sub him in the second game. If you have Crystal, then you know what you're getting. But Crystal, credit to him, he stepped up. He was still the second overall in the MVP rankings. Comes in with a new champion pool. Sivir better than Urgot perhaps, but honestly the Urgot comp, his Urgot play was fine. It was interesting to see the Black Cleaver into Frozen Heart 40% CDR build come out for the first time. It was just the comp, the no wave clear. It just didn't work out. Drafting errors aplenty from Snake in Game 2 yesterday.
Yeah, there were drafting errors. There was also some interesting decisions made moving up the mid lane as well into the base. But look, we're not going to bring that one up yet again. We don't really want to say anything about that. But the bans are coming through, and things are very interesting over here. Of course, Snake banning away Nidalee and the Scion. Of course, you were mentioning the fact that Aluka's Scion has been banned away. Now 100% of games that World Elite have been in.
And I wonder what point Scion has to get before people finally let Aluka play it against. It's such a wonder to see. Every time it's even hovered by Aluka, the fans just get up in uproar and excitement to see his play. But banned away Nidalee as well. You know, no slouch with the nerfs recently either herself. In terms of power levels, lower than it's been in quite a while, but still, respect bans are plenty coming through from Snake. Yeah,
and it is going to be the Rek'Sai banned away in the end. It means that Gragas is, of course, available here. And Spirit, I mean, you put a champion like Gragas into his hands, he's definitely going to make things happen. One omission from the ban list that you can see is that Urgot. Of course, Sivir hasn't seen a ban so far, but it is going to be Gragas locked in. We'll see what Snake decide to do. There's a lot open here. And is Flandre just going to go back to, I'm going to pick Maokai because it's up?
I think Maokai, it's a bit of an oversight not to take it first pick, but Gragas is right up there in terms of first pick priority. And it's a playmaking champion for Spirit. Finally not going to be on Sejuani. Finally going to be on the more proactive of Cinderhulk junglers, up there with the likes of Rek'Sai and the amount of power you can put out early. Rek'Sai banned away. Gragas, I would say, inarguably the strongest jungler available right now. Sejuani, of course, has her time, but it usually is later into the game. If you want to make things happen, you take the Gragas, and that's why I'm excited to see it snapped up by Spirit.
Yeah, and Beast actually looking at the Sejuani here as well, like you mentioned, going to take a little bit longer to roll there, but Sivir again here for Crystal.
And there's other powerful picks. Both Azir and Cassio have come through the picks and bans.
Use and LeBlanc, everyone.
Will be needed if Cassiopeia is available. Yeah, LeBlanc being available is a surprising one.
That's huge.
No mid lane bans after we saw a series yesterday with, what, 4 or 5 mid lane bans?
Yeah.
Picks and bans in general have gone so many different ways. Sometimes we're just looking for what priority picks are up. There's priority picks up in the 4th round of picks these days.
Yeah, there's going to be priority picks everywhere throughout this one. And Conan is thinking about picking up his Janna. Of course, plays that one a whole lot. But GA wasted no time locking away that Cassiopeia.
Yeah, and the Maokai still available in the 3rd round after being snapped up basically first pick. Every tournament or every competitive game I've seen since MSI, Maokai has been prioritized that highly. To get both of them, the Maokai and the Gragas, it negates a lot of AoE damage. And you've got an AoE team. You've already got AoE CC and then the On the Hunt available. We were expecting maybe the Rumble, some more AoE damage to come through. But a lot of that negated with all the disruption coming through from World Elite's first 3 picks.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. The fact that they do have all of that disruption, some interesting hovers to come through there. I would have liked to see both Azir and LeBlanc locked in. That might have meant that Ella could have been playing the LeBlanc support, which is always fun to see, but it looks like he will be defaulting back to his ever-present Janna here. Of course, Ella, a fantastic Janna player. Flandre on his Gnar as well, and we've seen him with, you know, relative success on that champion. It's been a little bit hit and miss when it comes to Flandre, though. And
just returning to one of your previous questions, you were asking about jungle picks and how they could build up Spirit. We talked about how he played Sejuani yesterday and fell behind just because his lanes weren't strong. If you look at Snake's side, Gnar versus Maokai is a winning lane matchup for Gnar. Of course, not a lot of kill pressure on Maokai. Maokai can still get that one-item power spike and be relevant. So there's points of power for Maokai, but certainly not in the lane. He's just going to eat free auto attacks and be kind of irritated by the no-resource Gnar. So Gnar should be able to control that wave. In the bottom lane, Sivir and Janna, of course, can just push in the wave and can control it as well. Wave control and Sejuani allows Sejuani to be flexible in her choices. Not going to be pigeonholed into relieving pressure off lanes. Can potentially farm up if the game so chooses it. So suddenly you have matchups here, and if Azir is picked in, you have a skill matchup in the mid lane. There's no obvious places that Sejuani needs to camp to get ahead. So Sejuani should have that flexible option to farm up, and it might be a late game Sejuani situation, which is where you always want to get, because the first 4 or 5 levels especially, painful times for a Sejuani.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. And It looks like you is thinking about taking the Azir into this matchup. And one thing I really want to question coming through from World Elite here is the fact that they've gone with this Nami Vayne lane. And Nami Vayne is a fantastic lane in its own right. Tycaller's Blessing really gives Vayne the tool she needs and all that sort of good stuff. But Urgot Nautilus was available.
Urgot Nautilus was available. Mystic, of course, is a noted Urgot player, good at the champion. I guess if you go for that, you don't have as much late game damage, but you have a Cassio already for damage. Now they're pairing it with two very high single target based champions in the late game. But
and here we are, ladies and gentlemen, as we hop onto the rift for Snake versus World Elite. Game 1 here, as Conan there was just hanging around in the brush. Of course, he is on Nami. There we are. We nailed it. Beast and Flandre waiting for the blue buff to spawn as well. No deep vision to come through for either side. Just going to be wards up the river, just making sure no one crosses over to the other side.
Now, it looks like Snake did get some vision. They have spotted the fact that Mystic and Conan are going to be landing in the bottom lane. Already seen the lane swap initiated, though. So lane swap initiated by Snake. Maybe that was just a double bluff that was pulled off. Ella getting a lot of damage onto Spirit, so it's going to be a risky early clear for Spirit.
Yeah, Ella actually going to get body slammed here by Spirit as well, who just drinks a whole bunch as well. And now that he's level 2, really able to answer back that aggression. Aluka going to start off this blue buff as well. And Ella's not giving up.
I mean, look, Ella doesn't need to be in lane. The freeze has been enacted by Sivir in top, so might as well try and get a cheeky steal. We've seen early level 2s from the likes of Mako, you'll remember, on support Vega. A little bit harder when you're John and you only have auto attacks to show for it, but still harassing, getting timers for Snake.
Yeah, and Aluka and Spirit a lot lower than they would have otherwise been here as well. As, of course, with that Eye of the Storm, you do a fair bit of damage with your auto attacks. Beast able to clear out this one. Ella, okay, gonna get out of there. We're gonna be fine. Beast gonna take a little while to clear out that Raptor camp there as well, as GA, of course, going to be pushing in relatively hard.
It's hilarious that, of course, Beast is still Sejuani, so it looks like he's been auto-attacked by a Janna the whole laning phase. But no, that's just how low you fall in the jungle as a Sejuani. I'm sad that we missed the first minute and a half, because I'm not really sure how World Elite with a Vayne Nami lane managed to get both a lane swap and stay on the bottom side of the map. So actually have dragon control in this vertical jungling situation.
Yeah, it looks a bit ridiculous. Maybe Snake, they have a
could have been a bluff,
slight
obviously.
Plan for it. Yeah, that's exactly right. So, of course, Snake, without any vision of a lane swap, may have just predicted that something may have happened. Nice little sapling from Aluka is going to spot the fact that he does not want to be in this lane.
Aluka, even though he's not a teleport smite champion, still got a very good jungle follow, so he'll be just fine. The pause comes through, so we can kind of take stock of what's happened. Honestly, World Elite have won in a lot of ways in the early game. Maybe not quite in the health bar in Gragas, who got really poked out by Ella, but apart from that, getting a lane swap but not losing dragon control is such a bonus, and they've got jungle Gragas, so once he's shot, picked up his jungle item, Gragas has excellent early dragon control because can pop that Drunken Rage. It gives him the extra damage to those neutrals. I believe the cap was increased to 400. Bit of sustain coming through from the Happy Hour. Can, of course, body slam over the back of the pit on this blue side very safely, so can do it largely unseen. Can't really solo it. Maybe around level 3, 4 will be able to, but fall low. But basically, every early metric is working good for World Elite. And honestly, when you pick Nami Vayne and things work out this well, it's better than expected for World Elite.
Yeah, and when it's about sort of 3 to 4 minutes into the game here as well, is this sort of... Are they out of the woods just yet? Because, of course, the counter lane swap could come back through here for Snake if they are able to actually fast push down this top lane out of turret. Might get a little bit of extra gold and then make the lives of World Elite bad. I
think regardless of how this was caused, I think you kind of have to follow that logic as you mentioned, Atlas, and go for the fast push. I think you have to understand that the best way is to force Vayne into a long lane or force Maokai into a long lane and take advantage of the suboptimal situation that you found yourself in. Go for the fast push. Vayne doesn't have as many fast push options as Sivir Janna, of course, and try and take back the 2v2. At least pick up something and then swap back. You don't want to just swap back and waste time and waste minion control and creeps that you miss when you're looking to swap between lanes. You want to take that turret quickly, counter swap before even the first dragon is picked up. I think that's probably too optimistic. It looks like dragon's a realistic objective 4 to 6 minutes into this game, but we've seen stranger things. We've seen teams with dragon control still not pick up their first dragon until 8, 9 minutes into the game. So honestly, Snake, at this present point in the situation they're in, push in that top wave, try and take that turret fast, and then counter swap to start to get that dragon control back.
Yeah, and so we'll see whether it is World Elite getting away with taking that dragon very, very early on without the top lane being taken yet, or whether it is going to be Snake able to take that top turret before the Dragon even goes down, because it's good to sort of look at what can go right for these teams, and we can see exactly what happens as we hop back into the game and see who's actually going to be able to fit those win conditions. Because, of course, as this game moves forward, I mean, you've got the likes of Vayne and, of course, a Cassiopeia. There's a whole lot of damage coming out of World Lead in the late game.
It's a very single target, and of course, if one of those targets is bursted down during a Sejuani Glacial Prison cooldown, then perhaps it'll come undone. But yes, absolutely, there is definitely teamfight potential in the late game coming through from World Elite. I just want to go through a bit of a thought exercise while we look at the great fans. Now we're going to load back into game, but just to consider a point, you might wonder, okay, let's assume, because we missed the first minute and a half, let's assume the Snake just initiated a lane swap. You might think, okay, but why are you lane swapping when you could have had this Sivajana versus a Vayne Nami matchup that does on paper sound very positive. World Elite working on their win condition, 4-minute Dragon will be very early. But one reason why they might do that, Atlas, is to hide Sejuani. We've already seen Sejuani's get behind. When you initiate a 2v1 with a jungle follow, it's much harder for a carry jungle like Spirit to get in the face of the Sejuani, steal away her camps, or just basically harass her out of the jungle early. It's the strategy that LGD used prominently to hide TBQ on his Cinderhulk jungler, so perhaps it was just a chase that Snake wanted to hide that jungler and just try and get Beast through those awkward early levels as Sejuani.
And speaking of an awkward time here, World Elite may actually find themselves in trouble, but Ella's just going to get caught out. Beautiful Aqua Prison. First blood is going to go to Spirit of Snake. Try and hide underneath this turret, and they just didn't quite get there in time.
And they had two choices of their victim. Smartly, Flandre with the instant flash towards turret. Ella not so lucky. Eats the bubble. Dragon in first blood. Things going great for World Elite.
Yeah, World Elite able to pick up that kill, and it's amazing that they managed to get there exactly at the right time as well. They knew exactly what Snake was going to do and just destroyed that option for them, as Beast is going to try and push this one out. Permafrost doing some work there to try and do some AoE damage to these minions, as Flandre is going to continue trying to get some farm. Of course, 14-3. Things going okay for Flandre, but Tumble's going to get Mystic out of trouble, and Aluka now able to get into this lane and try and get some work done.
Yeah, Aluka definitely on a standard tank, not quite the Scion, still unavailable for Aluka, but going to be happily farming from range. That's the unique thing about Maokai, is that his ranged farming for a melee champion is just ridiculous. You don't even really think of him as a melee champion, because the only time he starts auto-attacking is either once he's used the Twisted Advance and using that high base damage to get in your face, or just for sustain, honestly, with the passive.
Yeah. And Spirit there with an interesting parade of friends as the minions follow him out of that mid lane.
Have you noticed that minions follow you a really long way?
Yeah. I'm starting to feel like I have more friends on Summoner's Rift.
I had a minion follow me to the blue buff from bottom lane.
Well, at least you know that the enemy team had vision.
It was the most effective ward they could have ever asked for.
That's what happens, what people have to do. They have to convince their minions to follow Papa Smithy around in order to know where he's going to be in these games. Flandre not going to get bubbled there as Conan throws out an optimistic one, as now Mystic trying to do what he can, picking up the minions underneath this turret.
Rangers Trailblazer actually used by base just for a bit of AoE pushing potential. They really want this lane to reset. It looks like they could continue the jungle follow. I imagine the freeze would have happened whatever the case was once Beast left the lane, but just trying to put themselves in an optimal position as possible. And we talked about the fast push. It's definitely been on. It's not a 5-minute turret, but with the reinforcements, that's a lot of chip damage for 6 minutes into the game.
Yeah, precisely. And Crystal able to use that Eye of the Storm shield as well, really buff up those auto attacks. So this tower falling very, very low, but of course First Dragon has already gone over the way of World Elite. And it might be the second one that Snake might be opting into contesting, because of course not a whole lot they could do without the man advantage there in that lane.
We haven't spent a lot of time talking about mid lane. It's definitely a skill matchup. We saw it 3 times in a row during the LCK finals between Kuro and Easyhoon in that particular match, SKT versus G. Easyhoon was able to get on the winning side of both, but it's a true skill matchup, and in this case, I feel like the slight advantage is towards Cassiopeia. You can get those really strong damage trades, and as the Azir, you only really have wave control and defensive options. 12 CS advantage is probably what we expect at this point for Jia on the Cassiopeia side of things.
Yeah, you've been doing a respectable job, but you're exactly right. Of course, Jia, he's only got that tier as well, so Fiendish Codex is in the back pocket of you, so more combat stats available for the Azir, but Jia is still able to put on the pressure, so definitely a commendable performance here. for the World Elite middle lane.
Yeah, it's a fairly even matchup with the early advantage towards Cassiopeia and the late game team fighting advantage towards Azir, just because Cassio
Is that how it's supposed to work?
those weird laning, those weird late game situations where you just positioning, the use of the ultimate, the petrifying gaze. In this case, might actually be quite reliable. Obviously, a fairly unreliable ultimate just because it depends on the way the enemy's facing. But when you're fighting next to a Vayne, if both these hyper carries fight together and you have to come onto the Cassiopeia and Vayne, and there's for whatever reason the Beast ultimate is down, or they have Banshee's Veil, QSS respectively. In that situation, if you know the enemies are diving a Vayne, Petrifying Gaze becomes a very strong AoE deterrent to stop the dive onto the hypercarry Vayne.
Yeah, so on paper, things definitely looking okay. We'll see how it works out in practice here as Snake move forward here on the bottom side of the map. Top lane out of turret, as we saw before, did recently fall down, but only 200 gold is the lead here for Snake.
It's a very small lead. Big lead between Nara and Maokai, but Maokai's just been doing the team thing. They picked up Dragon, so we can always talk about that intangible difference between the first Dragon and picking up a bit of farm, but that's definitely been the result. Finally, Spirit feeling spry enough to get into the enemy jungle now that standard lanes have emerged. Beast's going to spot him with a ward.
Yeah, Beast actually staying invisible here as well, as Spirit does notice the fact that he's got a couple of friends coming down here.
Cassio's reacting fastest, though.
Yeah, there's the flash into the body slam there as well. Flandre going down solo, exploded by that vengeful Maelstrom, and World Elite pick up their second kill.
That's a lot of base damage. Remember, no combat stats barring the small amount of ability power completed between those two champions, but they basically popped a Gnar.
Yeah, and that was just perfect timing there with a mini Gnar there as well, as Crystal is going to get, oh my goodness, that spell shield was wonderful as the bubble came through, but final hour has been popped. Crystal's held onto his ultimate for quite some time as a tumble comes through. After that condemn, I'm not even sure how that managed to actually get the stun, but Mystic winning the trade here.
That was really nice Vayne mechanics to get the stun, as you mentioned. I didn't expect it at all. He actually held on to the condemn until he knew that the spell shield has been used. You can see the mechanics of this lane. Conan needs to hit the bubble to try and draw out the...
Oh my goodness, there's another condemn into the wall. Nice Monsoon to get Mystic out of the way there as the boomerang comes over the top. Heal's been used, but Ignite's ticking onto Crystal. Flandre, there's the boomerang. A second one comes down, and Crystal is going to be able to pick up that kill, but Flandre's not done. The Hyper Proc's now trying to be used up. Mystic makes his way under the turret, and he is going to be okay, but Snake baiting quite nicely. Yeah,
Maokai actually had good wards to teleport to, but chose not to. Had a big wave finally pushed towards him, finally trying to equalize the massive CS disadvantage. Only 5 CS behind now. So he's chosen the selfish route. They only lose 1. Mystic didn't die. So maybe vindicated there for Aluka.
Yeah, just a little bit. Was able to get some work done towards that top side, and the gold lead has not changed 1 iota in that situation, of course, with Flandre falling down on the top side. So this game very, very close here. World Elite more than happy just because they're up the Dragon. The Dragon has now respawned as well. They're 1 Dragon ahead, and if they can keep a shutout on that objective, then 200 gold means nothing.
This is really exciting to watch the dueling in bottom lane. Now that Vayne's gotten going, probably has Blade of the Ruined King on the next back. You have this situation where Conan needs to hit the bubble to try and draw out the spell shield. Then you finally have the ability to get the condemns. There's lots of skill shots, a lot of high octane action happening in the bottom lane. You wonder sometimes why you don't see a lot of Nami and solo queue. Is that the bubble is a slow moving skill shot, super powerful, but you need to hit it to really be relevant as a support.
Yeah, and of course, if Crystal doesn't manage to spell shield a condemn, if that's used first, that's the easiest bubble of Conan's life.
Absolutely. So it's just a lot happening in the 2v2. It's always the case with Vayne. Now that Blade of the Ruined King is completed, you're going to have to start respecting this Vayne if you're Crystal.
Yeah, precisely. But Mystic, now that he's got it, heading back to this bottom lane, doesn't give him any sort of options as far as AoE wave clear, so Sivir always going to win out on that front. But as soon as he can just duel a Sivir away from a lane every single time, it's going to be a problem. Luca has discovered Flandre here, who's got half a Gnar bar built up. He really wants to fight this one if he can. Vengeful Maelstrom was used just to prevent some of the damage, but Aluka sitting on half mana, he's going to be a-okay.
A surprisingly equal trade, despite the fact that Flandre face-checked a Maokai who was full health. Only the Catalyst compared to the Merc treads. The Madras is doing a lot of work again, decreasing the CC duration as well. Trades continue to go well for Flandre. Aluka has teleports. They need to make a play around Dragon because they have that teleport advantage.
And actually, Spirit may lose a pink ward there, but isn't going to go down, which is quite strange. Of course, Snake not deciding to remove that one, as WorldElite going to make their way back down towards this bottom side of the map. Spirit just zoning away the Snake bottom lane as best he can, trying to get some pressure on this next dragon that's going to be coming through. Of course, Flandre with a lot of pressure on the top side, so that is something that Mininar is sort of able to do.
But still, it's not a lot of options here for WorldElite. They're kind of caught between two bad options. They have that global teleport, so you might think, okay, Maokai teleports in, take the free dragon. They kind of need to engineer a situation where Maokai can threaten the teleport, but not actually use it. Because if he teleports, that's going to be an inner turret down from the Gnar. Gnar already has double Dorans and a longsword. We're talking about what? I believe that's 26 extra AD. Already a very potent turret taker. Maybe that's the situation they're engineering right now. They do not want a Luca to teleport or they will lose a massive objective.
Yeah, Jie making his way around here, but only puts down a little bit of poison. Second dragon going to go over to WorldElite very easily here. Snake conceding that one completely.
Some of these concessions by Snake just are surprising to me. The lane swap that they managed to get on the blue side, so getting lane swapped on, a surprising concession to WorldElite. Now taking a second dragon when they were in such a good place strategically, not having the teleport, but having the minions so far pushed up that inner turret damage was a possibility. Again, two surprising things about Snake. Plenty of surprises in yesterday's series as well, but Snake, I feel like they're making some strategic mistakes when they've actually got a very powerful early game comp.
Yeah, I find it very strange that Snake would ever opt out of fighting as well, because this is Snake that we know and love. I mean, this team loves just to do battle at all times.
I feel like they listened to a lot of the criticisms and said, okay, we can move away from the team fight only approach. It looked good in game 1 yesterday, then they went full team fight in game 2 and lost that game. They've gone back to a more rotational based comp, but they're not taking those early advantage. In fact, they're conceding. They're conceding dragons, especially not turrets just yet, but dragons over to WorldElite that honestly they don't need to.
Yeah, and Beast hasn't had an opportunity to use that ultimate once so far this game. We've seen the Sejuani sort of be a little bit of a non-factor. Has gone back, picked up the Cinderhulk, does have another Ruby Crystal there as well as tornadoes and boomerangs heading towards the bottom side of the map, but Mystic not going to find any of them, and Conan is going to take a bit of a ride into the sky for a moment, but he's going to be A-okay.
And honestly, the big benefactor of all their lane swapping and machinations has been Beast. It has been the Sejuani, who's basically been able to farm happily to level 8, pick up the Cinderhulk, work on those next items. We're going to be looking for a big carry performance by Beast in teamfights into the mid to late game. Just look at some of Clearlove's games on Sejuani last season to see what a free farm Sejuani can do in the late game. It's going to be on him to lock down Jie, Mystic, both of them, or at least delete one of them. Otherwise, it doesn't justify giving Vayne effectively free farm. Vayne the big winner for WorldElite, Beast the big winner for Snake.
Yeah, and it seems to me like Snake sort of don't even really mind about what Mystic is going to be doing on this Vayne. Crystal more than happy just to, you know, be Sivir into the matchup. On the Hunt has been popped, but Crystal's taken so much damage already. WorldElite full health after Snake decided to take that fight.
Now Conan, once again, hit the bubble, drew out the spell shield. All Crystal can do is pop the ult and back away. No good options available. Being a bit of a bubble magnet, you have to think. We don't know how much practice that Crystal has on this Sivir. Has played it competitive. I believe this is his 6th outing on the champion. 2 and 3, I believe, overall. Definitely wasn't something we associate with him, much more than hyper carry player. And the 500 range is getting punished for every trade that he takes.
It's not working out so far. They were, of course, trying to bait something there for Beast to find his way into that fight, but WorldElite decided that they're not going to take any fight that they don't want, and Mystic more than happy just to sit in this lane and pick up the farm that he can.
And will they just concede the 3rd dragon? I don't understand when they start turning it on to Snake. They're in a very capable position of fighting. Look at their items. They're much more offensively minded. They have the Hexdrinker and Merc Treads onto this Gnar. Actually, a lot of items on you already with the Morellonomicon and the extra Needs Large Rod. A lot of wave clear available, and Sivir has the Infinity Edge. So if they choose to take a fight, in fact, if you just engage a fight and bot, you sidestep the bubble and you just get an auto attack crit into a ricochet crit, you have a lot of kill pressure on the very low base stat Vayne. But again, it's just wave clear wars, and that suits WorldElite.
It does, but I guess in this mid lane, this is where things are going better here for Snake, as Yu has formed himself a bit of a CS advantage, up by almost 20 CS at this stage of the game. Jie struggling just a little bit to deal with the fact that Yu has so much flat AP affecting these Sand Soldiers auto attacks.
Yeah, basically, when the AP comes through and the wave gear becomes that much more regular, think about the same sort of situation with, say, a Xerath. the Shurima champions. Very similar in a lot of their power spikes, but 20% CDR into an easy large rod means much faster wave clear, and then Jia has to respect the Sand Soldiers, not able to walk through them as a medium to short-ranged mage, and just ends up getting passively out-CS'd over time. But again, you're trading a little bit of extra CS on an Azir for just so much more CS on a Vayne than you'd expect. You'd expect Vayne to be 20 CS down in this matchup, not a couple ahead.
Yeah. It was very, very different here from what we're normally seeing on the Vaynes so far. Mystic might be in a little bit of trouble, but Conan's still waiting in the wings. Crystal is going to find his way out of that brush, just hold this minion wave away, as Ella hasn't been spotted just yet, but Boomerang does go wide. Or they want to try and find something. Conan has been pinged out here as Beast is going to find Spirit and Conan following him up. Oh, beautiful spell shield, going to stop that Condemn from coming through. Final Hour and Tumble have been used now. As Mystic is going to come around. The auto attack reset going to come through, but Mystic with so much damage. Beautiful exhaust to save Crystal's life there as both teleports are going to come in. Flandre with a nice Narbar there as well, just waiting to try and get his bounce in there. But in the end, nothing going to come from it.
So we'll have to be very quick to build up Rage as this dragon spawns. Of course, with the 30 seconds from the moment that you spawn into Nar to when you can next build up the Nar bar, going to be about 10 seconds before the dragon that they start to build up the Nar Rage bar again. So this is the big dragon. It's the third dragon. The extra 5% move speed will negate a lot of what the rotational advantages that Sivir has as well. But there's the team fight.
Yeah, Luca jumping right in on this one. Beast hasn't even used his ultimate just yet, and he's going to die. In fact, it was on cooldown. World Elite going to transition into taking down this blue buff. Spirit going to lock that one in, and Flandre going to get condemned against the wall as well. Mystic trying to get some damage off. Nice Emperor's Divide. Going to cause GA to bounce around quite a lot in tandem with the Howling Gale, but World Elite now with positional advantage around this dragon.
Exactly. Being able to kite back to the third dragon is a massive backup win condition here for what they would not have expected. This monopolization over the early dragon against the likes of Sivir and Azir, but that's the third dragon in their pockets, and at 20 minutes, that's an early fifth dragon. We're looking at potentially around the 32-minute mark for such a big win condition like fifth dragon.
Yeah, and there's still a whole lot of standing gold here available for World Elite as well. One turret has been taken the whole game.
Exactly. They don't even have a turret themselves. So standing gold and potentially fifth dragon. We're talking about 12% bonus stats super early into the game. Okay, it's not ideal. You don't have the 400 AD to get the big 12% spike, but you'll take it.
Yeah, you most certainly will. I mean, don't look a gift horse in the mouth or a gift dragon or whatever the heck we're talking about here. As you pushing the wave into this mid lane outer turret. Crystal going to finally finish off the outer in the bottom lane as well. Does have the Brutalizer completed, so Crystal also going towards the Ghostblade Sivir build. Wanted to make sure that Boomerang is hurting as much as possible.
Again, that's a early to mid-game focus build. You're talking about 6 seconds of power once you pop the Yoma's Ghostblade. Not a consistent power spike they would have expected. Flandre's found a lot of opposition.
Yeah, there are a lot of friends here in this top side of the map. Wants to use the Nar, but another beautiful bubble as Flandre wanders out of the tidal wave as well. Luca continues to tank this one up as Mininar is on the run from 3 members here. Oh, you. That was
cool-esque.
It was definitely cool-esque as the turret is going to get tanked up here as Beast finds GA there as well. A lot of consistent damage, but Crystal, he's going to take down Mystic somehow, and GA turns it around in the mid lane. Flandre continues to be on the run here as the Boomerang just going to stop a Luca from finding his way around, and Flandre continues to build up his Narba here at the same time. Snake is going to take down this outer turret in the mid lane, and Papa Smithy, I'm not sure what's going on.
Well, a couple of kills were donated over to World Elite, but Mystic falls and 2 turrets fall for World Elite. Standing gold has become a bigger and bigger concern, as now it's a 3,000 gold hole for World Elite. As Snake honestly out-rotated them like crazy.
Yeah, picked up the outer turret in the top lane, the outer turret in the mid lane there as well. Then now going to have a whole lot more map control, and leading up to the 4th dragon that World Elite really want to be taking, Snake are going to have a lot more control over this map. But Ghostblade being completed. Yu has also finished off the Rabbidan's death cap as well. There are item timings that are coming through for Snake, which would have been really nice to have as soon as a dragon was spawning, but man, right now, this team is looking much stronger than they were a few minutes ago.
Definitely, just coming back to that Yoma's Ghostblade, very early game focus, but massive power. A 2-item spike that cannot really be compared by Vayne, whatever she builds. In fact, she looks like Vayne is caught between Ghostblade and perhaps Zeal into a Phantom Dancer as his next pickup.
Interesting.
Has a bit of attack speed and already has the Berserker Greaves. So obviously we'll eventually be building into a bit more attack speed, but it's not going to match Yomu's Ghostblade Infinity Edge already completed here for Crystal. 4th Dragon spot, maybe that's when we'll finally see the Titanic 5v5 team fight that we've been expecting to see for the last 10 minutes or so. But the item timing's definitely earlier, so you have to wonder if you're going to get outscaled in terms of items. For example, Infinity Edge, Phantom Dancer, Last Whisper, going to always outscale whatever damage item Crystal builds after Yomu's Ghostblade. You'd expect earlier fighting, and that's the surprise to see 3 dragons in the hole for World Elite.
Yeah, well, precisely. Well, World Elite now focusing here towards the top side of the map. They really want to start picking up at least some structures anywhere. Spirit waiting around here as well. Snake sitting at half health. I mean, Flandre, sorry. He's not the entirety of the team. He's just Flandre, but certainly a pivotal member. But sitting at half health here as well, so not with a whole lot of Narbar. And Snake wanted to try and get some pressure down into this mid lane. Spirit was moved away from the top side of the map. But GA is going to be able to take the turret.
There's so many wave control options for Snake in terms of they've got the Sivir who can push in. Azir, at this point of power, can very much push those waves quickly. So fiercely single target a World Elite outside of a Luca and Spirit. This is the result, unfortunately, is that you're often going to be multiple turrets in the hole. Make any mistake, Snake will just roll in with the On the Hunt and take multiple structures. So World Elite, even though they had this scaling comp, remember we said a lot of these same things yesterday when they had a very strong scaling comp against IG, and still, couple of mistakes, specifically Mystic being caught out by Rookie, and the game was over.
Yeah, well, Snake can certainly snowball these leads very quickly. Mystic has finished now that Ghostblade. He's sitting on just an extra dagger, so probably just had room for it in his inventory.
Really duelist build coming out from Xie. Finishes the Rylai second. Spirit goes for a steal.
Yeah, Spirit. Emperor's Divide's going to be used there as well. He's very, very low, but he's going to survive in the end. The Dragon up in a minute, but there's the ultimate. Not going to find it. Permafrost also not going to get Beast the kill either.
Gnar around the back.
Yeah, Flandre looking to try and get something happening here. Spirit, then Gnar into the wall on both Mystic and Conan as well. Final hour has been popped, but Flandre, he's getting melted in the hands of this Vayne as Crystal throws the perfect boomerang. GA flashes forward a whole lot of consistent damage as well, and he's tanky as all heck on this Cassiopeia. We thought the Vayne was down, and that was the damage gone. Heck no, this Cassiopeia doing some work.
GA went in 1v4, getting a 4-man ultimate with the Petrifying Gaze, and literally 1v4 from there. So much sustain coming through from their passive. The slow meant that no one could get away with the poison hitting all 4 members. And an effective 1v4 with just the slightest amount of help keeps World Elite in this game and gives them position on Dragon number 4.
Yeah, the build is just beautiful out of GA as well. I don't know why more Cassiopeias don't pick up Rylays early on, because the item is just fantastic. Giving her the tankiness as well. It's not even necessarily the slow, what that item gives you that no other item gives. It's the fact that you get it to build a giant spell.
Exactly. 2,100 health, then another 500 health coming through from the Rylays. It's a very tanky early game Cassiopeia. Flandre has a lot of chase potential onto Luca, but probably not kill potential, with no Blade the Ruined King or potentially, sorry, no Black Cleave or other offensive choice coming through in the build.
Yeah, it doesn't quite have the frozen mallet here as far as his offensive choice was. He did pick up that Hex Drinker early on and now has the Giant Spell, possibly going towards that Randuin's Omen as his next choice. The Spirit's going to take away these Raptors as well. GA almost stole that one away from Spirit, but Snake, they've started off the Dragon. It's about half health here as well, and Sand Soldier's in position. Snake, they lock that one down. On the Hunt's being used here as well. Spirit looks to try and get something, but look at used damage. And Snake just snuck the Dragon.
Well, they had the ability to just use the On the Hunt defensive if they needed to. They had to respect Jay once he finally showed up, but they didn't have position. They cleared the wards. It was smart play coming through from Snake, but they're trying to answer it with Baron. They have a Cassiopeia, remember. There's a lot of Baron damage between Vayne and Cassio.
Yeah, and already Blade of the Ruined King as well as the Silver Bolts. And this Baron is getting torn apart. Snake, no idea what was going on at all, and World Elite say, yeah, you can have the Dragon, but we'll take the Baron. And Ella and Beast getting caught out. Nice tidal wave, but it's a beautiful ultimate from Beast as you uses the ultimate already here as Aluka trying to get in there, but he's not going to be able to. Crystal also managing to get some damage down, but it is going to be you that picks that one up. Mystic uses the Condemn to try and get the heck out of dodge. And Snake, I mean, they took the fight, but they've lost the Baron.
It's a really big misplay coming through from Spirit. He actually chased onto the low health beast instead of fighting with his single target carries. And Gia and Mystic just had no target selection. The poison fell down. Vayne was zoned away. You need to fight with your team there if you're Spirit. And the fact that he split away just left this squishy backline, especially, of course, the Vayne, exposed.
Yeah, and I mean, as soon as Snake can take control of an area, Yu is doing so much damage on this Azir. The Rabadon's completed and is going to soon have the Void Staff in his back pocket as well. This is only going to get worse for World Elite dealing with these sort of area-based fights.
Absolutely, and that's the big thing about World Elite's comp. You aggress onto it, you aggress onto the Petrifying Gaze, and Vayne just tumbling around the back. Excellent team fight comp in that situation for World Elite. When you're going aggressively, unless you're using the explosive cast to push targets in, unless Maokai's getting a pick on a single member, it's much more awkward fighting aggressively if you're World Elite, especially if in the back line you can set up some sandsoldiers and really get damage down the front line.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll see whether World Elite can orchestrate the team fights that they're looking for. Of course, not too many neutral objectives for either team to go after here as Snake now trying to deal with some Baroned up minions. But World Elite, they've been struggling to push this entire game, and it seems to be what a lot of these Vayne lineups tend to run into as far as the problems that the team comps face.
So you wonder, why not the split push? Vayne, a wonderful split pusher. The purple build was coined, and the purple build is completed in this case with a Zeal on top. Vayne can easily outduel Sivir in a sidewave push, even with the item times. Of course, random double Infinity Edge crit, anything can change.
True.
But so many tools in the kit for Vayne to outplay a Sivir. They should be happy to put Mystic in a sideway, but they don't have ward control on the blue side of Snake's jungle, so they're not really able to commit to the split push. And then you get this awkward situation where, with plentiful wave clear, you're never going to get more than an outer turret with Vayne sieging.
Yeah, with the fact that Vayne has such low range here as well, not going to get much free time with the turret, even if any of your minions do survive.
And because the defensive wards are so strong, they're being met every time they go for these clears. Usually, if you're the team aggressively cutting between mid and bottom lane, you have a shorter route, so you should expect them to get there faster. But if you're predictable, this is the situation. You're able to anchor up, defend the structure, and World Elite doing their best to get another turret, but this Baron buff, it's not crashing down objectives for them.
Yeah, and Baron buff generally, I mean, you're talking about if you pick it up and grab 2 turrets, that's really good use of the Baron, but so far World Elite have not really been able to pick up much at all. I mean, I believe they may have got the outer turret in the mid lane, but I mean, that is about all they can hang their hat up on. And they do have the gold lead. So 3,000 gold now in the lead here for this World Elite lineup, but it's looking difficult here for them because Snake's sort of win condition in a team fight is a little bit more obvious than what it is for World Elite.
It's all about the double slam. If you can get that Glacial Prison onto Gia and Mystic, the first time obviously you're probably only going to get the cleanse, but the second time a lot of kill pressure coming through. World Elite's set up a very slow push in the top lane, but it's not really going to help out. Maokai's just going to go equalize that wave now anyway. They didn't have the minion waves or the aggressive ward clearing to be able to cut between mid lane and bottom lane, and the result, no turrets.
Yeah, unable to find anything, and the Baron buff now going to wear off as Crystal is going to meet Aluka there on the top side of the map. Actually decides that he wants to back off as Flandre does have teleport available, so if anything is going to happen here, Flandre can answer. Dragon up in another minute and a half, but with the fact that Snake managed to pick up the last one, they are going to have those 6% stats for themselves as well, and as soon as you can shut another team out of every single Dragon, it's fantastic news, but now things are a little bit more even here, only missing out on, you know, some pushing power and maybe some movement speed.
Absolutely, and that's why the first Dragon giving you the 6% stats is such a crucial factor about Dragon, is that even though there's Snowball, even though the fifth and the first Dragons are so strong, the first being relevant gives you that catch-up mechanic. They have those damage statistics coming through. It helps them opt into a fight for what would be the fourth Dragon for Mystic and World Elite. World Elite just don't have the defensive wards on this blue side. It's hurt them a couple of times. First with that rotation and now with Dragon control. They need to make Snake's movements around their blue side jungle more predictable to get this safe Dragon. Because they need to know especially where Beast is at all times when they initiate a fight.
But, I mean, if we're talking about anything that World Elite can hang their hat on, GA has hit a fantastic item spike here. It does have the Seraph's Embrace for the shield, but the Rylays and the Liandry's Torment for so much extra slow and damage here against these high health targets.
He's an equal opportunity murderer. He's happy to take on anyone in a fight, even happy going to burn down Sejuani with the big health stack.
Yeah, Beast actually might be taken down here as the tidal wave comes through. Nice condemn over there as well as Beast tries to find a target that he needs to fight here. Nice work of the lock into the Iron Solarium. Beast able to flash away here as well. Nice Nara into the wall as Spirit and Aluka getting locked down. Beautiful bubble under Crystal though as Aluka flashes away, but Yu picks up the kill, and I don't know how, but that was the first one in this exchange. And how is Beast still alive?
Yeah, but Spirit still high health, Beast very low health. Will they look to fight 4v5? They still have a lot of power in this comp, but it looks like Snake, with the numbers advantage, should be able to pick up the Dragon.
Yeah, Spirit is going to be able to make this a 50-50 though, but Beast does pick that one up with the Smite, and Snake, they're just going to move out of here.
I mean, it's just so awkward fighting in this terrain. They want a situation where Snake are coming into them so they can take advantage of the synergy defensively between Jay and Mystic, but offensively, Spirit and Aluka getting poked out by the Sand Soldiers, poked out by all the chip and AoE damage coming through from Crystal. They're trying to rotate and take a turret. It was already very, very low. But this Dragon, it could have already been a 32-minute 5th Dragon like we spoke about. 2 have been stolen away effectively by Snake.
Yeah, so Snake keeping themselves in this game, of course, still at a gold deficit now, but of course, being able to pick up these Dragons is a massive deal for these guys. And look, we'll see whether they can actually change this one around, because Baron's up in another 9 seconds. And if World Elite get another one, I have to think that they will be able to use that to push through. Of course, we've seen already that their wave control is great. Being able to pick up that inner turret in the bottom lane without really much to do with it at all. So Mystic now with the red buff. We'll see whether they go back.
Trinkets are kind of an issue for World Elite. They need more sweepers to be able to clear out Dragon, Baron Vision especially. They've been slow on second to react to both Dragon and Baron Vision in the last 10 minutes. Very questionably, Aluka still has a warding totem, not an upgraded warding totem like a Crystal has opted into. Just a regular warding totem doesn't really offer them anything in this particular situation with the Sightstone, the Ruby Sightstone, in fact, being completed by Nami in this particular situation. I think you need to go either for the upgraded yellow trinket and get more wards on the map around this Baron, or just help with the sweepers to try and get exclusive vision.
And so Flandre picked up the Randuin's Omen, but Aluka, he's sort of got his big items now in his back pocket. The Frozen Heart, the Righteous Glory, and the Spirit Visage. Getting ready at this stage, and World Elite now looking to try and create some control around this Baron. And World Elite, they don't find the bubble, but Crystal gets knocked into the air.
It's a big teamfight ultimate down. Conan probably too trigger happy on the tidal wave. Don't have that cooldown available to fight to just try and disrupt any of the engage that will linearly be coming in from the likes of Beast. Flandre trying to split the team. These team fights have been so awkward for World Elite.
Yeah, World Elite looking to try and find the right position. Mystic actually tumbling into a boomerang, which is not what they want to be doing, but World Elite, they find themselves back towards this Baron pit, and they're committed to setting up around here.
As long as Cassio has blue, their Baron threat is through the roof, especially with the Leandri's Torment being completed, which will burn down Baron additionally. So Snake have to react. They want to split. They don't want to just go through the mid, take this inner turret, and just punish World Elite for all their machinations around Baron. But given all the Baron damage between Vayne and Cassio, they have to respect the threat over a 5 to 6 second Baron take.
Yeah, and it's also the same the other way around. If Snake get to set up here in the Baron pit as well, you can get the Sand Soldiers available for himself and get them into position, and then things are very difficult for World Elite. Mystic and GA were thinking about starting off the Baron.
Sideways pushing for both teams, to be honest. Bigger wave in World Elite, so probably slight advantage given that's crashing on this inner turret and top already. But there's a wave pushing in slowly for Snake as well towards the bottom side. So no real big advantage, so World Elite getting position on Baron is all they want to do. It's the actual starting Baron's the problem. Mystic takes so much damage from the Baron.
Yeah, he's going to be able to heal himself up just a little bit off this Scuttle Crab, but that has to be a mistake there by World Elite. They did not want their AD carry falling to half health from just the Baron. And Snake realized this. They're heading towards the mid lane.
They want to use an ultimate. You can see Beast was looking to ultimate one person. Aluka and Spirit, definitely not the targets you want. But that inner turret falls down quickly to punish World Elite for their poor ward clearing, to be honest. And they're getting punished for the trinkets as well.
Yeah, it's happening. And G8 looking to try and pick up that Void stuff as soon as possible. But Snake now with the control.
Team fight's so awkward to fight for World Elite. They found the one perfect one where Jia was able to flash ultimate 4 members and basically outplay them himself. But in these other team fights, especially when Crystal has the On the Hunt available, just not able to layer the CC, not getting even a pick from Aluka, slowly clearing out one ward after one ward, but they're taking about 500 health and getting 35 gold for clearing those wards. So it's not winning trades for World Elite when, so it feels the last 5 minutes, they haven't actually had Baron taking pressure.
Yeah, and there's no wards available for either side anymore here as well. So the last ward has been placed at the back of the pit here for Snake. We'll see whether World Elite are going to head back there and try and clear that one out. No sweep is available as well, though. Everyone's sort of running out of these vision resources across the map, and finally everyone deciding to back away.
Yeah, all of World Elite backing in a ward. Not going to be taken advantage of by Snake. They don't have the Baron taking pressure that World Elite have, so no real way to punish that. Looks like Dragon, I guess, will be the next point of competition. Snake can actually equalize the Dragon count at 3 apiece 39 minutes into this game. Nobody's set up at all. Everyone's, of course, been paying exclusive attention to the Baron in the last 4 or 5 minutes. So Dragon is an equal opportunist at this present time.
Yeah, and Blade of the Ruined King now completed by Crystal. That's 4 items on this Sivir. We've seen what Sivir can do when she's able to pick up this many, and Sivir has had a fantastic success rate thus far this split of the LPL. And we'll see whether Crystal can make something of it here, of course. As you mentioned, Dragon up in another 10 seconds, but Snake looking to try and put pressure around this Baron area. This is where World Elite are, and Snake more than happy to answer.
Yeah, Blade of the Ruined King gives a bit of self-peel. It's a bit more attack speed, and honestly, a lot of health stacking happening, even from the mid laner and Jie in this particular situation. So not a bad purchase. If you look at the other options, QSS isn't really a realistic option. You shouldn't be getting stunned by Cassiopeia, and you just respect Aluka's ranges, and you should be fine if you're Crystal with the spell shield. So Blade of the Ruined King has that defensive utility, and the lifesteal and attack speed obviously work offensively as well.
Yeah, but look at this gigantic wave crashing into the inhibitor turret here on the bottom side of the map. World Elite, they're going to start off the Baron. Sand Soldier spots out what's going on. On the Hunt has been popped, but look at the Baron. Already gets destroyed, but look at that. Conan immediately disintegrated in that fight, and Crystal down very, very low. That Gnar was insane from Flandre. Gier is going to get exhausted here as well. Mystic still alive there on the back line. Does take down Ella here as Crystal uses his spell shield, but a triple kill for you as Gier is going to try and escape. Both of the damage dealers still somehow alive here on the side of World Elite. Flandre, not sure whether you wanted to do that, but you picks it up as he heads over the wall. Flandre, in fact, manages to take kill credit, and Snake, I don't know how they turned it around, but that was beautiful use of the Gnar and the Glacial Prison. Yeah,
the baiting by Flandre at the end, whether intentional or inadvertent, was just enough time to buy time for you, his new teammate, to come and pick up the kill on Gier. As you mentioned, it was just textbook stuff flashing into the ultimate. It was a scoop. It wasn't a wall stun, but it was exactly what the team needed. And the Gnar mechanics from Flandre, super on point. Mystic's going for a solo mission, though. The teleport coming through is spotted out. We're going to see the replay of this fight. So Mystic falls low, but the scoop coming through. The alley-oop was a good thing for once. It wasn't a criticism. It wasn't a cataclysm, I'm helping moment. No. Wonderful play from Flandre, still alive. It's the 2 carries, and she has very high damage. So there was no guarantee at that precise point that World Elite wouldn't actually come back and win the fight. But Gier taken down through smart moves from Flandre, and it should be all even in the Dragons after this.
Yeah, it was so cool. You just sort of throwing all of the team members of World Elite towards Flandre so that he could just use his ultimate. And that is going to be the steal from Spirit as well. 4th Dragon picked up for World Elite, but Beast wants to try and find the ultimate, finds 3 members of World Elite with that one. But Flandre gets knocked out of his bounce somehow.
She is coming.
It was beautiful work. Beast takes a whole lot of his health here. Does need to back away. Beautiful Emperor's Divide from you. Survives that one, but he takes a lot of damage. And he's slowed down to high heaven. World Elite now want to be able to try and take a structure.
Yeah, they're going to try and push through mid. There's all recalls coming through from Snake. It should be at minimum an inner turret. Crystal tried to react, but really no way you can walk through 5 members of World Elite.
Yeah, they've got the pink ward there as well. Mystic able to lock down that inner turret there in the mid lane. Flandre now here to try and clear this one out. And Snake caught with their pants down just a little bit, and they lose the Dragon here as well. It could have been 3-3, should have been 3-3, but now World Elite able to, at 48 minutes into this game, threaten the 5th Dragon.
A small but critical factor is that Vayne still had the Baron buff, so they had the Baron buff minions to help with the poor siege that comes through from World Elite. We've noted a couple of times that Vayne's not the best turret taker. Baron buff minions equalizes a lot of that pain that Vayne has in taking structures.
And now Snake moving around as a unit once more, heading towards this top side of the map. GA, you have to think that that passive is going to be stacking up quite a horrendous amount at this stage of the game, looking to probably pick up that Rabadon's Death Cap as the next item here, and this Cassiopeia is going to be terrifying to deal with. Flandre discovering Spirit here, getting slowed down as well. There's the one-man ultimate, but it's to make sure that Spirit is not going to get out. Nice use of the explosive cask, and Spirit somehow still on walkabout in this one. The Boulder's going to find him, though, and Snake, are they going to be able to pick up this kill? The Rock's not going to find him either. Yu finds his way over the wall, and there it is. Eventually, they manage to lock down the kill on the jungler. Crystal is needed for his wave clearing, but World Elite, that jungler lasted a lot longer than he should have.
And look, he couldn't punish that rotation Mystic and the rest of the team, because Mystic, as you noted before, was freezing down the bottom. So wasn't in a position to quickly run through the mid. If that was Crystal on Sivir, would have been an easy rotation in the other scenario. But given that Mystic was just freezing, no way to punish the fact they spent, what, 30 seconds trying to kill a full tank Gragas? Usually not an ideal use of resource, but in this situation, they get control over the blue side jungle of World Elite, and that should serve them in good stead 2.5 minutes time when Baron spawns.
Yeah, and I like this build coming through from Mystic as well, making sure that in an extended fight he's going to be as healthy as possible. The double lifesteal items with the Bloodthirster and the Blade of the Ruined King. But is it going to be enough? Not having that Infinity Edge, not having that sort of hyper-critical hit damage that he can potentially get out there. Is the Infinity Edge going to be missed in the late game build?
I think if you watch back those last few team fights, you can see that Infinity Edge is a luxury too far for Mystic. Every time he tries to tumble into a fight, he eats one Sand Soldier auto and falls to half health. He's getting poked out as if it's Cassiopeia poison. Honestly, it's much the same role that Jia and you are performing in these fights. There's no way for him to navigate the insides of a fight without taking poke damage, so you need the lifesteal, the magic resist that the build's taken. And there's just, honestly, there's no 7th slot for him to fit in an Infinity Edge.
Yeah, can't really find the room for it, but actually, he's not going to be able to find room for a Last Whisper either.
I think, look, honestly, attack speed versus a Last Whisper on Vayne, the calculations are always pretty iffy either way. If you get more attack speed, you get those Silver Bolts procs, it gives you more kiting and orb walking, and honestly, those might be more desirable statistics for Vayne at this particular time. Honestly, the team fights are just so difficult. That's kind of the issue that World Elite faces, that we saw a game yesterday, and I commented that it would be a perfect Kha'Zix mid game because there was so much isolation.
Yeah.
Gragas needs to do a lot of work to isolate targets for Mystic and Jia to fight. Basically, they want to bounce people into Jia and Mystic. Not Beast, that ultimate's going to be a bit devastating, but
wouldn't be so
anybody else, they want to bounce in just to make it 5v4, because in a true 5v5, Jia and Mystic try and walk in for damage. They're both short range. There's a short range mage and a short range AD carry, and they get poked out. They can't team fight on their terms. So honestly, one of the few ways the team has to do that is a true pick through the likes of Aluka or bouncing someone in. If they can bounce in anyone other than Beast next to a wall, or Beast or Flandre next to a wall, they have to take the option and just try and DPS them down instantly.
And now is when things are getting really hairy for World Elite, because this is a 6-item Azir and a 6-item Sivir. This is very, very frightening stuff, because this Azir's potential DPS in a team fight is astronomical.
So that's the question that's posed to World Elite, is how do you fight against this comp with their 2 soul damage dealers? This is definitely a 2-threat comp from World Elite, not being able to walk within, what, 800 units of an Azir?
Yeah.
They have to find a way to DPS down targets with complete respect on you, because use damage, as you mentioned, is insane. And again, leave it to Spirit. It's been the way for World Elite for, what, 4 months of the year? Leave it to Spirit. He's the man to really engineer, or just one of these desperation fights around Baron, because the moment Baron spawns, World Elite will smash it down.
Yeah, they're taking it right now as well. Flandre is teleporting in, but look at how quickly it's going down. They have, oh, the 5-man ultimate from Beast here as well as Crystal trying to get the boomerangs across. Flandre right in amongst this fight. There's the Nara and Aluka in Spirit, but not exactly the members they want. You now finding his way into this one as there's the Emperor's Divide. Nice double bubble going to be used here, but Snake, they haven't found the kills they were looking for. Spirit finally does go down as the boulder toss gets thrown in onto Jie. Mystic wants to find an auto attack onto someone, but the double kill eventually as Aluka got singled out. And Beast, he's heading back to base here. Yu finds himself in the pit. World Elite, they've lost their 2 tankiest members, but Snake can't take the Baron.
And the tanks on World Elite have not taken the memo and kited back with the team. Once again, Spirit's almost in a 1v5 scenario without even an ultimate to justify trying to get a single target out. Snake are going to pick up the 3rd dragon, the movement speed equalized between the 2 teams. A win condition goes down. World Elite can't pick up Baron. It's an important move from Snake, but doesn't really get them closer to winning the game.
Yeah, no one is close to winning this game. The gold is entirely even here at 48 minutes into this game. 5 turrets apiece for both of these sides. Baron now is going to get taken here by Snake, or attempted to, and there's nothing World Elite can do. Still 10, 20 seconds on both of the members of World Elite who can get there in time.
And Vayne is trying to punish them by pushing, but honestly went for a long walk and got nothing, did Mystic, as you can see on the minimap. Just going to back away now. No dragon to answer with. Snake get an answering dragon to remove the threat of the 5th dragon and the Baron. Get everything through Spirit and Aluka, just going too deep.
Yeah, and Flandre managed to make it up towards this bottom lane as well, and using the wallet before it even reached the ground there. Very desperate to get his hands onto a lot of those minions, and that stack of minions didn't make it to the inhibitor turret like Mystic was intending it to.
Mystic didn't contribute anything. Honestly, there was no real good decisions for him. He couldn't try and contest the Baron. He wasn't fast enough to go and push in the minions, and was spotted out by multiple defensive Snake wards. Snake's warding, with only a single sidestone, has been magnificent this game. Barring a couple of early scenarios where they didn't have maybe aggressive wards, their defensive wards in particular have been on point.
Yeah, and Beast has been sitting with a stack of green wards in his back pocket this entire game as well, making sure that he's making up for the fact that he doesn't have that sidestone. I think he may as well have just bought one. He'd probably sort of make a little bit of money off it at this stage, but of course, when money isn't too much of an issue here, of course, 2 members of Snake already with their 6 items, and now Spirit's got a Guardian Angel.
It's a strange purchase, honestly. Just more health probably would have been more useful. During the res time, they've only got a single tank who's also been getting chipped out, so I don't see how that's actually going to buy them any advantages in a fight. It gives them the armor and magic, so it's cost-effective stats, but Snake have out-rotated World Elite and put up a defensive turret to go back to, but won't quite get the minion wave to be able to punish them with an inhibitor turret.
Yeah, not quite there just yet. World Elite have managed to at least get there in time, but we've spoken about their complete lack of wave clear unless GA can get right up in the front of these minions, and you can see already this turret taking a whole lot of damage, and that was without Crystal even really getting any time with it.
Who's going to actually do damage to this siege minion? Just keeps
Saplings
pumping away. They need the Azir turret to go down just so they can go for that desperation almost to engage, but given that it's up, they have to respect the potential of it being an effective turret dive for them to engage. Not many good decisions here for World Elite.
Yeah, there was nothing that they could do to try and get rid of that siege minion. This next push of the creeps towards this one, he's going to be able to take that one down. Beast almost separated as the explosive cast came through, but unable to find it. 2 siege minions now, as the rest of this minion wave is going to get cleared out, and 1 more auto attack, 2 more, and it is going to go down there. So the inhibitor now under fire, and Snake able to set up and try and take this one down.
The safer option is probably to go ride the minion wave and bot and take another inner turret. Now that they don't have an Azir turret to move back to because they're just too close if they go for the inhibitor. Inhibitor's a risk, there might be a fight. No risk down bottom, but with that poke onto Gier.
Yeah, you just doing so much work here. Flandre actually wants to find the engage here as Mystic is in range for that Gnar ultimate, but Mystic able to get out of there. Beast very, very low. Aluka right in amongst this fight. Spirit gets taken down to that Guardian Angel, but he's going to be back up yet again. Does die in the end as well, as Yu just does so much disgusting damage. Uses the Zhonya's Hourglass, but now he may have sacrificed himself. Jie picks up that kill, and Crystal now trying to auto-attack fight with the Cassiopeia and winning the double kill now. But Conan does land a very, very nice bubble, and I don't know quite what's going on this game, but Aluka and Conan, the last men standing, and Crystal and Flandre, they're backing away.
While it's an equal 3-for-3 trade, in the midst of all of this, the inhibitor is taken down. The lack of wave clear was palpable from World Elite during that long siege minion. Yeah. Solo siege of the turret, you have to think. That was the only person who was safe enough to take the turret. Speaking of turrets, Crystal picks up another one.
Love taps it.
When you have 2 single target high damage threats, You pick out one of them, you take them down. Unfortunately, this is not much that WOD can do. Mystic respected so many skill shots. QSS got him Chaos Crucible, still died, and then to some degree, their team fight falls apart.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. And Conan coming down here, trying to clear out this minion wave, able to use his bubble to do so, trying to get some extra work done there. But you can see already, I mean, Luca's not really going to be able to help too much. Finally, the World Elite members that can actually clear out a minion wave or two have respawned, but Spirit sort of wasted a whole lot of gold now on that Guardian Angel that he's not going to use again for the next 5 minutes, and he's had to sell it. Now has the Thornmail in his back pocket.
This is a strange purchase.
It was an interesting one.
I don't see what will happen when a tank goes down for 3 seconds of res, comes back with 750 health. Given how these fights go, given the fact that the tank line is so critical for these single target damage dealers to actually do damage in a fight, you need to be alive. You need to have as much health, armor, and magic resist as possible to open up the chance for Mystic and Jia to do damage. And Guardian Angel just doesn't really help in almost any of those factors. Certainly not in a cost-effective way.
No, it's not happening. Slow push in the top lane here for Snake, though. They do have a massive minion wave pushing up there, and it does mean that this dragon is possibly going to be under their control. They have positional advantage. World Elite looking to try and contest for it because they want the 5th dragon. That is still a point of power for this team. Spirit, wow, it's like a command attack on those Sand Soldiers and an auto attack, and Spirit's down to 2/3 health already.
WOD Elite have done a good job of pushing out waves. They will not be punished if they can initiate a fight in the next 20 to 30 seconds. Once these mini waves start to push out, though, things will just get better and better for Snake, and it may have to be an uncontested dragon. They started it off, and with all this lifesteal, Crystal can basically solo it.
Yeah, Crystal can put in a whole lot of work. He's actually adjusted his build almost completely. Sold the Blade of the Ruin King and his boots, picked up Guardian Angel and...
Go time!
There it is, Flandre. He's got the ultimate. There's another beautiful ult from Beast. Oh. Look at the 5-man gnaw from Snake as Flandre's tearing this one apart. Mystic's gonna fall down. There's Jia as well. All of the damage from World Elite has evaporated, and Snake, you have to think that was the game-winning team fight.
That's gonna be game, and we come back. We rewind 40 minutes ago, Atlas. We said, okay, who won this early trade? Speaking of trades, Spirit's doing a pretty good job against you, but look at that range. Who won this trade? A free-farmed Vayne or a free-farmed Beast? But Beast's ults in teamfights have been on point and setting up massive alley-oops. Over to his good friend Flandre. Wonderful 4-5-man Gnar in that fight. And Snake finally take it down on what is a 55
really finding his stride here over on the Snake lineup, and it seems like it's a definite upgrade so far.
I think that's what we expected, at least in terms of champion pool. And he's playing picks that Barca certainly wasn't playing last season, excelling on the likes of LeBlanc and Cassiopeia that we didn't see coming out from Barca, save maybe 1 or 2 times. And just again, the flexibility that just saying the word flexibleness when you're talking about Snake is just not something. We never thought of Snake as a flexible team. They were so pigeonholed. Crystal had to be a hyper carry. Barca basically had to be playing Xerath, sometimes Azir. They were very, very inflexible, and finally it hurt them when it came to the semi-finals, right at the death of the season. Suddenly now, 2 games of Crystal on Spirit, 2 wins. The playbook to play against Snake, which was once so predictable, so often viewed, is now, it's pretty nebulous.
Yeah, and you've got the fact that Yu has picked up an MVP on both Azir and LeBlanc, 2 very different champions as far as playstyle is concerned. The fact that Crystal, he's decided to bring out the Sivir, it's much more impressive this time around. And look, things are looking great. Azir has actually been banned away here. You're not going to see that one, and Gragas going to be the answering ban from Snake. They don't want to first pick it away. We'll see what Beast is thinking about. Of course, Rek'Sai hasn't been looked at just yet. She is one of Beast's sort of favorite picks here in the jungle because he needs to be on something that he can control the map on. And we haven't seen his Nunu just yet. It was available last time and ignored.
So how do WOD Elite react? You mentioned that 2 very high priority junglers are available, and that Nidalee's been banned away. So it's probably going to be Cinderhulk junglers for both sides. I guess Evelynn is still in the pool as a champion that has been picked in recent times. Giving up Rek'Sai, which I think will have to be the case here. I think you first pick Rek'Sai just because whatever Spirit chooses, it's not going to be able to match the pressure that Rek'Sai can put out. And we've already seen what happens when he chooses Sejuani against Rek'Sai. Kakao ran over that matchup, and Beast has the same potential if we do see the Sejuani, probably the most powerful pick available, locked in, unless they can pull off a really impressive Nunu comp. Spirit's running out of options.
Most certainly is, but somehow the Kalista managed to get through this draft. Mystic has played it in the past.
I'm going to pause you here. What a world where Crystal has Kalista available and doesn't snap it away with first
That's
pick.
pretty crazy, actually. But, of course, Snake did not waste too much time there, picking away the Rek'Sai immediately, making sure that Beast was on a comfort pick. And seems like Crystal is going to be okay with taking something else into the matchup. We'll see what he decides to bring there. Of course, Urgot is still available.
And it certainly wasn't any fault in his Urgot yesterday. He played a very good Urgot, even though they lost the game to unlimited potential. That was more a compositional issue. No wave clear. Urgot not helping in that regard. Urgot is a flexible option. It does have what has proved to be a good laning matchup. Maybe not at level 1-2 like we thought before. Maybe you have to go for that lane swap, then swap into it. But there's a lot of options. Even Sivir just for the team comp might be the way. And when you see the likes of Maokai and Rek'Sai, Sivir is screaming out as a great compositional choice for Snake.
Oh, most definitely. You was thinking about a Ziggs there as well, as Ella is going to lock away the
It's going to come eventually.
It most certainly is. And I think it may actually be even this game. Because, of course, staying away from a Cassiopeia, good idea.
Exactly.
Ziggs
Long-ranged wave clear,
yeah.
great poke. A short to medium range wave against a long-range mage. It should work really well if they go for the Ziggs. It's been much mooted about, but he hasn't actually played it in competitive for quite a while. Hasn't had a lot of chances, you know, has been sitting on the bench. But use Ziggs used to be a legendary thing, just like Easyhoon Ziggs that hasn't been spotted yet. Used to be such a respected thing. We're going to see it eventually.
Yeah, and now with Control Mages making it back into the pick ban phase, then you have to think that Ziggs definitely one of those options. And Mystic going to lock away the Lulu here. Could be going into the hands of a Luca. Might actually, you know,
it's going to be going to Luca.
Yeah, but look, you know, GA could be picking that Nautilus away for Spirit there in the jungle. Who knows? We've seen Nautilus in the top lane. I don't really know what could possibly happen. Crystal is going to think about the Sivir yet again. You mentioned that being a strong pick, and you can go towards the Orianna if he wants to. We've seen this already today. Hertong didn't have the greatest time on the Orianna, but Rookie yesterday was out of control.
And it's just a really, really powerful Orianna comp. You've got one of the best ball carriers in Maokai with the targeted twisted advance.
Yeah.
You've got the potential for Rek'Sai to pull off some shenanigans from different angles with the Unburrow. Orianna does fine against Cassiopeia. You're going to get pressured. You're probably going to get harassed out of a bit of CS. But once you hit level 9, you have fairly easy instant wave clear. You'll do just fine in the matchup. It's mid-game power aplenty from Snake, and it's strong lanes for Rek'Sai to gank for between the Thresh and the Maokai having CC in those lanes. And then, of course, in level 6, there being burst potential in the mid. Just a really nice balanced comp that nobody thought Snake could play. And they're showing this season, this is something they're quite comfortable with.
Yeah, and it's certainly looking great, and I'm very frightened for GA here as well, because of course, I mean, you get a slight movement speed by landing some poison there as far as Cassiopeia is concerned, but Rek'Sai is going to be able to close that gap, and now Spirit has put himself in this massive hole of being on the Sejuani one more time.
I mean, you can say that at least the Cassiopeia does have kill pressure on the Orianna, might be able to push her in. At least Jinx is very good at controlling, Lulu is very good at controlling waves. So if they can both push in, maybe
And here we
Sejuani
are,
will
ladies
have
and gentlemen, for Game 2 between Snake and World Elite. And look, Snake already positioning themselves towards the top side of this map. The lane swap coming through straight away as Beast is actually the one hanging around here.
Tremor Sense actually spotting out the exact pathing of a Luca, but Luca's smart enough to just ward that middle brush and just get the hell out of there.
Yeah, and they know that he's used his Trinket Ward already, actually, having seen him move towards that brush.
It opens up this aggression. This is actually quite calculated aggression coming through from Snake.
Yeah, and they can see Tremor Sense there as well. In fact, Ella probably could have found the position. As Aluka actually moved out, I'm not sure how they didn't know.
I feel like they had more information. Maybe it was slightly out of range.
Not sure. Luca did manage to get an auto attack on that ward, so they definitely know that that's there. As World Elite now positioning themselves, of course. Nautilus with the most CC of a level 1 champion in the entire game.
Absolutely. When your passive is a CC, probably safe bet you're going to have the most CC.
But, of course, Snake not going to be face-checking anything here, as Flandre and Ella just going to spot the rest of WE heading up this river.
It's going to be matching of the lane swaps, actually, you have to think. It's a blue side lane swap. Those Sivir's backing away. We saw Kalista in the top lane, not really priced into back, but they're actually all backing. And it's going to go still trying to enact the lane swap.
Yeah, it's very, very strange. Of course, Snake will have their bottom lane towards the bottom side of the map. That is certainly a big deal, but they're going to miss out on a few creeps here in the first wave. As you saw, World Elite also missing a couple of creeps here in the first wave.
I think the reason why you see this is that although Sivir Thresh is actually very strong against Kalista Nautilus in lane. You get Dragon Control if you're the blue side and move towards the bottom side of the map. You have Rek'Sai who's already going to have a lot of jungle pressure. So I think just giving yourself first option for Dragon when you have so much mid-game power like Snake. I don't think you can get 3 Dragons in the hole when you have the Maokai Rek'Sai who really err towards the mid-game and the early mid-game. So I think you have to give yourself Dragon killing potential. So I don't mind the counter swap by Snake.
Yeah, no jungle follow going to be coming through here. Of course, Spirit going to be all on his lonesome. And already Beast moving around to try and put the pressure on. Look at the ward already here. Ella put that one down. 3 members are going to spot out the Piggy. And Ella actually missing that death sentence. Very unlike this player, but they are going to be able to steal away this blue buff.
That's a really smart move from Snake. They have the multiple members in the bottom side. It was very risky for Spirit to be trying to take that blue buff anyway. Fast push coming in from Wardley on the top side. Sivir's definitely going to be happy to opt into a counter fast push in the bot.
Yeah, if anyone knows how to fast push, it is most definitely Sivir. As that Ricochet, you can see already bouncing around these creeps on this bottom side. But, of course, the push already in full effect in that top side. The view is just going to use that dissonance in order to clear out these minion waves.
Doesn't have the mana regen to be able to match all the pressure coming through from Cassiopeia. The freeze is on, but there's a lot of members in the bottom side. They know that they can't possibly be equal members, though, because there's no way at the moment for Mystic to end the freeze up top. Wants to pick up unanswered CS, so they have to back away from the 4-man Snake push.
Yeah, and GA actually, you can see, pushing aggressively here in the mid lane, but full vision of the Cassiopeia. They know that it's only 3 members at maximum here, and when Aluka still level 1 and Spirit was pressured out of his own jungle, Snake, complete free reign on this bottom side.
Look, they both have fairly low item ceilings, so item floors do Lulu and Maokai. Maokai probably gets the edge, because you just get a righteous score in some boots. He's pretty much ready to go. Has the passive, the ultimate to really get him going in team fights. Although Lulu no slouch, but both of them so far away from ultimates now. Level 1 versus level 3. Levels for Flandre. Eventually he'll be able to teleport to lane and do just fine.
Yeah, well, this is what we meant, is the fact that, you know, the tree, we've seen Maokai's fall as far behind as you like and still do their job. And that's sort of exactly what happens. Of course, Aluka probably needs to have a little bit of AP to make sure that his shields and everything are going to be as relevant as possible, but Crystal's already pushed down this outer turret in the bottom lane.
And that's why the moment that Mystic and Conan got aggressive up top, Crystal's like, thank you very much. Had multiple members. Of course, the jungle follow meant that there was 4 members in the bottom side. They denied, what, 3-4 waves to the turret, took the turret down happily, and now they can counter swap top. Didn't take down the dragon, so that's unfortunate for Snake. They weren't able to pick up the dragon advantage, but given just how much they've denied from Lulu, maybe that's just mission accomplished.
Yeah, and we've seen as well Snake not really prioritizing these early dragons. They like getting early gold on these maps, trying to snowball leads from very early on, and so far it has been working out for them because, of course, making sure that you have the items for these mid-game fights that they love so much is very important.
Luka finally picking up CS under the turret, but Sivir will eventually enter lane, push it in, and try and make his life hell. Thresh is in the area. Wasn't clear if they were going to go for a gank around the mid side. Yu's still level 5, so not a lot of kill pressure onto Cassiopeia.
Yeah, and Jay almost looking like he didn't take any damage. Ladies and gentlemen, he did. That dissonance did do some work as Flandre just trying to sit underneath his turret. We've spoken at length about a Maokai's ability to farm from range, and he's going to be able to do just that.
I guess Spirit is proving your point. They had the option to choose between bottom lane turrets, securing that and denying CS, or picking up the dragon, and they definitely value the CS, as you mentioned, over the dragon, because they're happily giving Spirit this dragon in the bottom side. Dragon's not really a scary objective till the 3rd, arguably the 5th in a lot of ways. The first one, not really relevant at the 6-minute mark, and by the time they have a couple of items on their carries, maybe you get over the 1-item hump that Orianna specifically faces before she finishes her death cap to pile on the AP. When they're ready to fight around that 3rd dragon timer, they're going to be very powerful gold-wise.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But Crystal is going to be able to take a Dark Passage and continue clearing out these minion waves. Aluka hasn't seen a minion in quite a long time. But of course, Flandre, although he's low on farm, has been sitting in the wave picking up experience.
And that's the big difference, is the experience advantage. You compare 11 CS to what you get with a level. The level The amount of like base stats you get from leveling, honestly, is big at this point. He's going to hit level 5 instantly. Level 3 is a Luca. It's deceptive, but Maokai is ahead of Lulu in terms of stats.
Yeah, able to get there, but Crystal still clearing out this wave. He's taken a little while to be able to fast push this turret, of course. Only 7 minutes in. It's not exactly all that easy, but Mystic and Conan have made their way around.
Avarice Blade, the investment started already very early by Crystal. Maybe too greedy. Probably didn't have enough gold for the pickaxe, but the pickaxe would have meant this turret would already be down.
Definitely.
Now Mystic shows up in lane, has no real items to speak of himself, so the AD carries investment, banking, and sustaining respectively. Finally, the pickaxe completed. Should still have control of the wave. That's just the reality of the Sivir versus Kalista matchup. We'll just go backed up because not worried about dragons in the slightest.
Yeah, not too concerned about it. World Elite are able to at least continue the work that they'd already put into this top lane outer turret, as Conan's actually just going to wander away. Was thinking about backing his Beast. There's the flash on Burrow as well. Beautiful play as the exhaust comes through on top of Beast. He's going to try and get out of there. Mystic using that Marshall poise to get him out, and Crystal flashes forward and gets denied his kill. Conan, though, he might get delivered. Not going to happen. Flandre locks down that one, but Snake already 2-0.
And Snake engineered that situation so expertly. Beast was waiting in that brush for a long time, collecting information. They just finally pushed up the minion wave down bottom. Flandre pushed it into Lulu. Would have missed 2 to 3 piled waves if she teleported and didn't even have the wild growth because, of course, the levels have been denied so effectively. They take the turret, they get 2 kills. All of that was not just a coincidence. It was a complete outthinking by Snake of World Elite.
Yep, really beautiful play. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get any kills onto Crystal, but honestly, that is not the main point of that particular issue. Outer turret did fall down in the top lane as well. 2 turrets to 0. This is the kind of snowball that Snake really want. This is what they play for the majority of the time they hop onto the Rift. And 3,000 gold at 10 minutes into the game, that is nothing. It's not nothing. It's fantastic here for Snake.
So let's go back to World Elite versus IG Game 2 yesterday. You weren't here to cast it with me, Atlas, but the big factor there was it was a Sejuani with her lanes losing, with lots of disarray, Rek'Sai getting in her face, and honestly, no one could react because they were so far behind in lanes. Snake is engineering a very similar situation here, taking out both outer turrets in the top and bottom side of the map, giving them the ability to push these wards. You can see aggressively into Sejuani's jungle. You can see blue side wards around the red side jungle of World Elite. They can start really contesting Spirit's buffs, keep the Sejuani behind, and ensure that there's never a beast-level Sejuani in the late game like we saw in the previous game.
Yeah, precisely. And Jie has actually sort of been put into a situation where he needs to be picking up the tankiness early on, actually deciding to go for more of a Karthus-esque build that we've seen coming through recently from the likes of Assassin, and picking up that Riley's Crystal Scepter after the tier.
I think it's just insurance, knowing that Rek'Sai has a lot of jungle pressure, already seeing Flandre so adept at these teleport plays. We named him the Time Lord for a reason. There's feeling a lot of threat. If you're picking up a Giant Spell as Cassiopeia before blasting one, before your Archangels, you're respecting the multiple mid-game threats from Snake, and it's probably an astute choice.
Yeah. Well, Crystal using that Boomerang Blade to try and keep these minion waves at bay, while the rest of World Elite are putting a lot of pressure towards this top side. Spirit realizing that he can't really be on his own farming out his jungle. He needs to be helping push out these waves.
And despite doing all this split pushing, going for the dives, having 2 kill involvements, Maokai finally finds time with a wave, easily picks up the CS, and now is equal with the Lulu, with a Luca, who wasn't even able to teleport in and affect a previous battle. So those 10, 15 CS advantages that Lulu picked up earlier, completely negated.
Yeah, and you as well. He's having a fine time in this lane as well. No extra pressure to be put on by Jie at all. And Orianna just doing Orianna things here in this lane. Does have the Athenes on Holy Grail as well. Mana is not going to be too much of an issue. And look, as soon as the next big item comes through, these shockwaves are going to be really, really frightening.
Absolutely. Needless Large Rod comes through into Death Cap, and we're going to see both defensive and offensive utility coming through from you. And that's with Jie, who's already felt pressure enough to delay damage further and further. Yeah,
there's a shockwave, actually, as Yu's actually going to get Petrifying Gaze. Crystal trying to run through and try and get some auto attacks down, but It was a very beautiful ult from GA, but he used every summoner spell.
Cleanse and Flash had to be used, as you can see. The Flash was available, then had to be used. That's really awkward times for GA, feeling the pressure from a Sivir gank of all things. Not really the most threatening thing usually. No Sejuani on the side of Snake to be able to force the cleanse in many situations, but cleanse Flash defensively. Now Cassiopeia is going to have to play defensively with that tank build. So defensive itemization, defensive positioning. They're setting up you to be aggressive, but You's dead.
Yeah, you did die in the end. GA actually managed to pick up that kill. Flandre looking for a Luca who was forced to flash over towards his inner turret, which is getting a lot of pressure on it as well. World Elite now starting off a Dragon of their own. They're going to be able to pick up their second. The shutout of Dragons continues here for Snake as they're going to try and trade that one for the top lane inner turret. A lot of structures missing on the map here from World Elite, but they're taking down these Dragons at a pretty hot clip.
And it's just whether Snake can actually... Crystal.
Yeah, it's a very nice spell shield, but you can't spell shield enough here as Conan tanks up just enough turret shots.
So the outer turret being taken in top gives Snake the potential control over the red side jungle from Spirit. So if that can keep Sejuani behind, it might be a smart trade. If they're not able to cause pressure in that red side jungle, it's starting to look better and better for World Elite. Second Dragon, immediate stats, not that exciting, but they're going to have position on the third. They should be able to finally push out and take the second outer turret in the bottom lane. So at least on both sides of the map, they're equalized in terms of outer turrets. The inner turret and top will be the only real reward for Snake's pressure in the first 14 minutes of the game.
Yeah, and Beast has been spending a whole lot of time in the enemy jungle here as well. Spirit hasn't really had access to anything as Beast took the red buff and now is taking away these Raptors as well. Yu makes his way back into this lane, only picked up an amplifying tome to augment his Athene's Unholy Grail. Looks like he might be going towards the Luden's Echo build that we've seen popularized, but wasn't as impressed by her tongs when he picked it up today.
I mean, it gives you that instant wave clear. Your QW will just explode the backline and be able to push in a wave. But I agree, I do prefer sheer AP stacking on Orianna, even though once you move towards 40% CDR, you're moving and attack moving so quickly that you do get multiple Luden's Echoes procs out in a couple of seconds, let alone during a team fight. Sheer AP with the defensive scaling seems like the more attractive option, but a lot of these players fitting Luden's into their build primarily as a second item.
Yeah, it's not too bad. We saw a little bit of action there as Spirit tried to lock down Crystal, but Dark Passage was able to be taken and Death Sentence didn't find the mark here. Ella really needs to get his eye in just a little bit on that one, but we'll see whether he can get these plays happening. We saw Hart previously on that Thresh doing incredible things, and as this game moves forward, we'll see whether Ella can step into those shoes.
It's important for World Elite to pick up the first few Dragons because they've got a very similar comp. They've got the whole Cassiopeia and Hyper Carry comp rocking here between Cassiopeia and the Callista. Callista's caught between those two core items that we talk about, the Hurricane and the Bloodthirster, but when those two items are complete, the difference this game will be they've got two Dragons. So you're expecting Snake to opt into fights around the third Dragon. That means they'll be coming into the Petrifying Gaze and theoretically a Ren-setting Callista. So Dragon is a very necessary objective for World Elite to fight for. They have aggressive options with the Sejuani, but with the position that we expect from Cassio Callista, we expect them to be better going defensive, but finally an offensive option with the Sejuani.
Yeah, exactly. So Spirit is going to be stacking a whole lot of that health. He's going to be a massive tank towards the later stages of the game. And if he's going to take the focus like he did a lot of the time, then there's wild growth available. There's a whole lot of different options. And Conan's going to be there as well as a secondary pseudo tank. Flandre is going to find himself in amongst a whole lot of members of the enemy team. But look at that, clearing out that way very quickly with the Vengeful Maelstrom.
It's worth knowing that, as you mentioned, Spirit's going to be becoming more and more teamfight relevant, initiation relevant in the late game. Sejuani doesn't have any defensive statistics in her kit, needs to build it up through items. Cinderhawk doing the lovely multiplicative scaling in that particular regard. It actually gives them a teamfight smoothing scale in a lot of ways, in that they're very defensive at this present point. They want to be fighting on their terms, but once Sejuani gets strong enough, she can be that solo initiator. So if they buy enough time through objective fights, fighting with those Ren set builds around the Dragons, and then in the late game they can transition to the super aggressive Spirit, diving in with 4 health items and a wild growth. That will really suit World Elite's game plan. They didn't have the offensive option last time because it was the Gragas, but now they have Sejuani, a much more reliable initiator in the late game.
Yeah, and this time around, we are going to have Beast hanging out in this bottom lane, sort of split pushing just a little bit, as Mystic's actually going to find Flandre here, looking to try and get something happening. Doesn't quite get there, but Mystic, in fact, gets it turned around on him. There's the flash. Flandre just pounds Mystic into the ground, picks up the kill, and maybe a little bit of over-aggression there for the Kalista.
I mean, it had to be. It was only Thresh providing support, but obviously not accounted for. Ignite rides down. Doesn't matter how much lifesteal you were getting out of that, out of the lifesteal choice that he opted into. And he just falls. So that's just over-aggression coming through from Mystic. Felt empowered after picking up the kill on Sivir earlier in the bottom lane. Still trying to cause a lot of pressure in the mid of Snake, and they're chipping away at Cassiopeia's turret. Yeah,
that turret down very, very low. Only about a quarter health here as Spirit is hanging around, is able to get some form of defensive fan going on here, as Conan is going to make his way in as well. Crystal has to take the Dark Passage, but is going to utilize that in order to get to safety. And leaves himself a ricochet behind. And now just going to use that boomerang, and man, Sivir just clears out a minion wave very, very well.
Absolutely. No real need to commentate that one, Atlas. It's always the case.
I just like minion waves, Papa Smithy, you know that.
If you like freezing minion waves and getting big stacks off them, the pushing, it's just not so much action happening there.
Yeah, and Diana's taking gigantic waves.
Mystic still struggling, still doesn't have the first big item completion, has the parts of what will be a Renset-centric build. But 20 minutes in, you usually want the Bloodthirster and a Rico bow at this point. Kind of stuck between 3 options right now.
Yeah, and of course Beast and Flandre are going to get pretty tanky towards the later stages of the game, but of course this Renset build might be a little bit more effective against this particular lineup.
And if anyone's clumping specifically around an objective they feel necessitated to fight, like the Dragon, honestly, rushing the Hurricane at this point would have felt great, but it just would have been an item timing issue. Stuck between 2 identities means that Renset is not going to be a huge threat to Snake, but still a distinct possibility.
Yeah, soon enough, Mystic will have that item completed, and we'll see whether it is going to be at a relevant stage as third Dragon now looking at here for World Elite.
Lulu really needs to group faster, wants to be the person in position first to really stop any aggressive wards from coming through, but Maokai is going to make it to the Dragon first. No teleport used by Aluka, but this will be at the cost of at least a couple of wards that World Elite have set up.
Yeah, Yu does have the needlessly large rod, so a lot of ability power available for this Orianna. Spirit tanky as all heck with so much health here. Crystal going to need to build another Blade of the Ruin King, I think, this game, because the health stacking from Spirit is pretty massive. And actually, Spirit's actually going to find Flandre starting off this blue buff here as well. And did Flandre pick that one up? No, he didn't. So it was actually locked down, I believe, by Spirit.
No one used their smite, so there still is a lot of ban pressure from both.
Oh my goodness, there's a boomerang coming across as well as Beast actually flashes over the wall. GA uses a petrifying gaze, but Flandre turns around just in time. Beast now finds himself on his own, burrows himself away. And Snake, they keep their jungler alive. GA very, very low, but no one's dead.
And because they've pushed up Pink Ward so aggressively, they have an aggressive Pink Ward in World Elite's brush around that mid lane. Ward coverage in general is to the advantage of Snake. A couple of World Elite wards down, but with Gia so choked out, they're going to try and push this outer mid turret and finally get the outer wave. No, looks like they're going to prefer to pick up what should be a largely uncontested Dragon.
Yeah, it depends whether Gia can make it over there in time. Of course, Snake with a whole lot of damage there in their arsenal, and there is at least the Scuttle Crab warding available here, as Snake do just take the Dragon and leave.
World Elite, they ping onto the mid lane outer turret. No minion wave right now. Sivir completely out of position. Orianna as well. Given that it's below half health, this should be a free turret for World Elite. Nope. It prompts a teleport.
Yeah, Flandre is just going to teleport on top of that one. Does have the home guards here as well. Spirit looking to try and collapse onto Beast. He's at full health, though. The stun onto only one member, probably not going to be enough. Mystic now has to deal with the whole team of Snake on his own. He's not going to be able to. They trade the AD carry for the jungler after the Dragon has fallen down, and Snake, they might even be able to take this outer turret in the mid lane.
Super strange shot calling coming through from World Elite once again, choosing to use all their resources into a super tanky full health Beast and leaving Mystic helpless. Nothing he could do. Heal was available, but Wild Growth just didn't do anything to dissuade. Trading your jungler for a mid turret and the enemy AD carry is a very positive trade for Snake. They're on the board in terms of dragons as well, so you push out any sort of 5th dragon threat. And if the last game's anything to go by, very hard to force 5 dragons out of Snake.
Yeah, and Snake as well. I mean, last time they let World Elite pick up 3 dragons in a row. This time they managed to pick up the 3rd one for themselves, really slowing this game down. World Elite are going to be able to get a favorable stack of minions here in the mid lane and take down the outer turret, but you've got Crystal just farming a massive wave in the bottom lane. You just cleared out a gigantic wave in the top side as well. You can see he's managed to create a lead for himself, and man, this game so far looking fantastic for Snake.
Even if the shot calling's been a bit wonky from World Elite, they did have the side waves really well pushed up. You saw Orianna and Siva both had to react to clumped up minion waves pushing into inner turret. So that's something that World Elite have really adjusted between games. You can see Siva still clearing wards in the bottom side. Which is, I believe, 3 or 4 waves in both the top and bottom side the maps pushing in. A lot of standing gold picked up by Snake and not terribly punished by World Elite. They could not rush down that mid-inner turret, even though the 2 big wave clearers between Orianna and Siva were out of position.
Yeah, and this, again, is sort of another story of Flandre just being a pretty fantastic top laner. He's been in all of the right places, managing to create the opportunities for Snake that he needs to. 2-0 and 2 now, does have the Righteous Glory completed. And we've spoken at length about the fact that Flandre loves picking up Maokai, and we're starting to get an idea of exactly why that is, even in this 5.8 metagame.
And Maokai shows up at a team fight, just so much more power than Lulu on the other side of things. Lulu only really has defensive options. Home guard teleport is the advantage available for Flandre. Righteous Glory for even more initiation power. On the hunt, going to make him faster. Maokai's going to make things happen. Aluka might alleviate a bit of pressure, and that's the difference between the two. Flandre loves to go ahead, he loves to be aggressive, and Maokai suits him.
And Papa Smithy, you're going to be very happy. He listened to, and he's picked up that Rabbidan's Death Cap on top of the fact that he just had the Amplifying Tome just chilling out. So that could possibly be going towards the either Void Staff or maybe even getting a Luden's Echo before he has that magic penetration in there. Nice pierce onto you there from Mystic, just to try and get some extra damage down.
You just have to add you to those list of thrift shoppers.
Yeah, oh yeah.
435 gold, need to fill up my item slots, get a bit more power, rather than necessarily tipping my hand towards the Luden's Echo.
He has played on a team with Name before.
The ultimate thrift shopper.
The ultimate thrift shopper.
Back again somehow after being relegated.
On to King, definitely not. On to Starhorn Royal Club 2.0 with a different name. But we are going to see them very, very soon, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, this evening we are going to go through the remaining teams here in the LPL that we haven't seen just yet. But first, World Elite need to try and fight back here against Snake, who are already 1 game up. They lost a game yesterday against Unlimited Potential, managing to turn around what was a difficult situation. It was looking bad for Unlimited Potential for moments there, but Snake sort of throwing away their advantages just a little bit, and maybe that could be something that World Elite can wait for here, wait for a mistake, because we haven't spoken about waiting for mistakes in quite a long time, but against Snake, that might be something to do.
You don't need to mince your words and choose them so specifically there, Atlas. They were winning until you decide to randomly dive, Nexus double turrets, die, and just give the advantage straight to UP. Probably not going to see the same approach here from Snake, probably some choice words from his new teammates. 2 MVPs and then an MVP-worthy throw coming through from you.
No, I liked it. I felt like
it
was completely had the idea of what Snake is all about.
Well, I mean, he's had 3 games, 2 MVPs, and then threw a game. So everything's been about you in 3 games.
Oh, thanks.
What about you, Atlas? You're
the player. Got it.
I'm patting you on the back here. A split push coming through expertly from Flandre, though Aluka. One thing he can do is clear waves.
He can certainly do that. Has picked up Lulu quite a few times in his career in the LPL so far, but Snake going to take down the Gromp, and this is something that they definitely like doing. Killing Gromps has been a thing that Flandre himself has loved to do, mostly when he picks up Smite, but even when he's playing as a tree. Not too worried there. 30 CS in the lead, even more at this current stage now for Maokai, and World Elite, they've noticed the fact that it's 26 minutes into the game, and they haven't done a Baron yet.
Well, I mean, honestly, just start the Baron. They have so much Baron. There's even more than last game when you have Kalista for the Baron secure. Of course, there is a smart pink around the area, so maybe it's biting off too much before they can potentially chew it. And the result, with all this Baron pressure, they were just so smart last game. You noticed every time they went for Baron, Jie had a blue buff, so it wasn't a situation where you burn down the Baron and you're for a fight. No, they always had the blue buff. They were always smart about when they chose to Baron. Baron is their best objective to fight for because it's one they can burn down almost instantly.
Yeah, Dragon going to be up in another 4 seconds. Snake with positional advantage here. They're looking to try and find something as There is a ward over the side. Conan gets caught up and instantly destroyed, almost, as the Fate's Call is going to save him on 100 health. But my God, that was an incredible amount of damage.
And definitely won't save their dragon hopes. It's only a second dragon for Snake. Will World Elite pull the trigger? See, blue pings onto Baron, but we're not clear yet whether World Elite are going to all in for this Baron. Cassio's not quite in position. She's going to be there late, so it looks like it's going to be a bit too optimistic to try and burn down Baron with all 5 members of Snake fast approaching.
And wards were already put down there from Snake as well, so of course that Baron that they are looking at, Spirit actually taking a bit of damage from, not going to be the option here, as Snake have put themselves into this mid lane trying to clear this one out. Conan wants to get some revenge after losing the majority of his health bar. But it is Flandre there in the top lane, does have the teleport available, probably wants to head back to base before using it, have that home guard advantage. But now World Elite heading around. They've got a lot of vision around this Baron area. Snake sort of dropping the ball just a little bit as far as that is concerned. But Death Sentence going to land onto Conan. They decided not to do anything about it because, of course, having their Thresh go headlong into the entire team of World Elite, probably not what they wanted.
Without a pick, Gia just can't afford to burn his whole mana bar on Baron, hoping to burst it down quickly. So, honestly, Snake relatively safe from the Baron pressure that World Elite has definitely picked for. Callista and Cassiopeia, 2 of the best Baron securers in the league, even without a Nunu or a strong jungling force when it comes to securing the Baron. Lots of aggression being pushed in. We have to remember that Snake prepped this red side earlier, taking both outer turrets in the top lane.
Yeah, precisely. So, of course, this minion wave, if it is going to get some time there in the top, is going to be able to push forward and possibly get some damage down onto that inhibitor turret. GA able to make short work of these minions. But, of course, Crystal waiting around this Baron pit, a little bit on his own, but should be okay here. Of course, Conan's hook doesn't go over walls, so it should be okay. Mystic able to clear out this mid wave as well. And one thing that World Elite can definitely hang their hat on is the fact that their AD carry now has a whole lot more wave clear.
He has a lot of items. He has that big mid-game power spike that he probably wanted about 4 minutes ago, but look, he'll take it at 29 minutes into the game. The issue is that in the interim, there's been no team fights, and Maokai's picked up a Frozen Heart. So Maokai Maokai always great at dealing with these maneuverable champions like the LeBlanc we famously saw at MSI, and in this situation with the Callista, now has the big armor stacking. The armor purchase will start to come out from Rek'Sai before too long. Probably going to be Aranduin's to go along with his current assorted health and magic resist items. Things are really great for Mystic right now, but they won't be great for him very soon.
Oh my goodness, Conan actually taking a lot of damage here. Tries to flash away. There's the Fate's Call. I think Snake thought that he was far enough away from Mystic that that wasn't going to be able to be used. But man, Conan again getting picked off.
It's getting completely chunked out before every fight. Crucial this time. No objectives. They're going to be seeding from his health bar being flashing every 3 minutes, it feels like. But he can go back. Aluka picks up the farm. Nothing to punish him apart from World Elite being able to actually equalize out some wards, so even get a little bit of pressure, despite the fact that the health bar, it's been low from Conan multiple times this game.
Most certainly has. But of course, I guess with the Shockwave now on cooldown, of course, with a fair bit of cooldown reduction, it's going to be up again very, very soon. But there was a little bit of respite to be had there from World Elite, so they're able to get a few wards around. Of course, short-lived vision for World Elite.
QSS all ready to respect mainly the Twisted Events, I guess, perhaps the Death Sentence coming through from Thresh, but I think it's mostly to respect Maokai. He's going for a quick QSS. Very low item ceiling does Mystic have, so is happy to fit that into the build, but is not getting a choice to opt into fights before armor's being picked up, and it's probably smart for Snake to run World Elite around long enough to get those first big armor purchases on specifically their front line. It'll interact with the big AP stack that you've already put together. This will be very, very tanky front line.
Yeah, and this Orianna, as soon as we see you get a decent ultimate on multiple members, it's going to be very frightening. Void Rush actually coming through here as the tower goes down almost without a response here. WE, he gets spied out there with that Scrying Orb as Flandre looking to try and make his way in. There's the Righteous Glory popped in Spirit. He's looking for an ultimate, looking for an opportunity here. Crystal does make it back to his team at the same time. Spirit, there's the ultimate, a beautiful stun. There's a petrifying gaze onto so many members. But look at Crystal's damage just ripping apart this team. Conan, is he going to come back in? No, he doesn't. He actually is going to escape using the Fate's Call. But Somehow no member of Snake is dead and Spirit's gone on the side of WE.
It's a really big shockwave. They get the first kill onto Spirit, who, through all the use of CC, was actually in a great position to get a 4-man ultimate. There was just no follow-up whatsoever in that particular situation. Flandre teleport home guards in.
Yeah, he's looking to just try and scout around here. Aluka, he's going to get flanked on the backside and destroyed here. And now there's, in fact, oh my goodness, GA just getting eliminated again. Mystic trying to kite around. Crystal doesn't even die, and Snake, their team fighting prowess is back with a vengeance this split.
And it feels like Sivir is the tonic to all the needs that Snake had towards the end of last season. Now that Crystal's really honed that, they play around the movement speed so well. Flandre's job is even easier with the extra movement speed that On the Hunt provides, and the Baron is secured for Snake.
And Flandre's genius little loop around the red buff pit there as well to come back and just...
Someone's here!
Yeah, I've spotted you, Aluka. And then he moves back towards the Baron and gets absolutely obliterated. And Snake, once again, with a big power play in this game.
I think Koro showed it best to MSI. People always valued home guard boots on Hecker. It makes sense. He's got that movement speed, damage, scaling. But home guard boots on any sort of initiator is so powerful. It gets you into positions that would not be possible otherwise. Home guard boots and Righteous Glory, you're hitting the movement speed cap and then some. You get that important pick and you justify the power of mid-game and now late-game Maokai, which has come up big, 4-0-4, looking to finally wrestle some MVP points away from you.
Yeah, and speaking of wrestling them away from you, I mean, I think if anyone's...
Oh
my goodness, another Fate's Call, and he's going to be saved yet again.
Has
but that's going to mean another Dragon.
Ever been used aggressively? Just once down bottom when they were turret diving.
That was the only time. But what I was going to say is the fact that if you were going to pick up the mid-game items for the amount of money that you has had, they are the perfect items that he's sitting on right now. The Haunting Guys and the Void Staff as well just picked up on top of the rest of the items that you had, and he's looking fantastic moving forward into this game.
Yeah, everything's falling for Snake. Now they're ahead in Dragons 3 and 2. It's been real seesaw in terms of Dragons this series. WD Elite getting the start and then getting shut out multiple times after picking up a couple, first 3, now 2 Dragons. Baron buff up. Crystal makes short work of these turrets, and they just keep pushing in strongly.
Yeah, and Spirit now might have get caught out of position here. The Dissonance doing so much work. Another Wild Growth Spirit still alive somehow, but Crystal is going to take that one down in the end. Mystic finds himself in an awkward position, but World Elite, they've managed to at least secure themselves underneath this turret, but that's just their jungler for nothing.
They still have the Shockwave. Actually, it wasn't available. Now off cooldown finally, not to be unbeknownst to World Elite, but they'll keep pushing. All outer turrets on the map done, and they're not stopping.
Yeah, they're certainly not. The Baron buff still swirling around the Snake members. Mystic trying to get the cheeky auto attacks in, but they have to concede this. The inhibitor going to fall as well, and Snake, they've been fantastic at getting a pick and then getting an objective, and it's happened multiple times this game.
And honestly, World Elite have lost games multiple times in the exact same way. 2 games in a row, it was Mystic getting initiated on by Rookie and basically losing the game off the momentum shift that happened in that series versus IG yesterday. World Elite, single picks just bring them down. And in a game where they had control like game 1 of this series, picking themselves into corners where pushing that final advantage, whether it's breaking the base, whether it's picking up the 5th Dragon, it just got too hard. And World Elite have made it hard on themselves, and Snake, off the back of the Crystal Sivir, have looked really impressive.
And man, Yu has really fit into this lineup beautifully at the same time. I know we've mentioned it time and time again, but now 2-1-6 on this Orianna. He's landed shockwaves that have really turned around these team fights. He's worth another mention on yet another champion. And I know you don't necessarily need to mention champion pool every time you mention a player, but when you're taking over the position of Barker, it is so relevant.
Exactly. When you're replacing a player who had 2 champions he played at a very high competitive level, some decent competitive champions, and then just that was about it. It was about 5 or 6 champions in his pool. To you, who has, much like some of his contemporaries, like Rookie, like Pawn, more of a champion ocean. Okay, he might not hit the peaks of a player like Pawn, at the peaks of some of the top mid laners, but he's such a great generalist, and he has those pocket picks like Ziggs that might come up big later in the season. That flexibility in the mid lane champion pool deserves to be harped on about, because it's what's going to propel Snake to really assault both the playoffs and the regular season that they did so triumphantly last season.
Well, it's true, and he looks like he's fitting into the playstyle of Snake so beautifully at the same time. You can have a fantastic player, but if you don't have the synergy with the rest of the team, it's not really going to work, and you already feels like the right fit into the role that the Snake lineup were looking for, and now they're sieging out this top wave. Beast able to get around there with the Void Rush if he wants to. Crystal actually getting hooked in there. His health bar going down so low. Look at the amount of bounces that come in. That shockwave onto 4 members was gigantic. GA, he's going to fall down. Mystic, it might be the time for the Ren sets, though. You so incredibly low, but the dissonance and the command protect pick up the kill. The double results from that one, and Aluka, he was searching for the Orianna but doesn't find it, has to take a consolation thresh, and Beast
meanwhile
on his own in the bottom lane.
Yeah, that's the reason why it looked like such a competitive fight, as it wasn't a true 5v5. Beast minion wave starts to finally fall down, has the Void Rush available. The fight just happened so quickly that there was no real chance for him to ult in. In fact, no tunnels at all on the top side of the map, aside from those on the Baron buff. Awkward fight for Snake, but they don't really lose a lot, and given where the minion waves are, they can't really be punished for some over-aggression.
Yeah, this is what Snake generally does. They make interesting calls when they're trying to break through the base. Of course, they've conceded a little bit of gold, but let's have a look at this one.
So Crystal gets hooked. That's the big factor, is that the spell shield's off target, falls very, very low, will flash, but just ends up dying at some point to the Ren coming through. It's a really nice shockwave, but you can see on the minimap, Rek'Sai's nowhere near this fight. That's why it looks so competitive from World Elite. They'll go on to win the fight. Finally, Mystic gets the Ren sets that he wanted 24 minutes into the game, but it was actually the backside of the shield. You know, the shielding, the command protect that actually got the kill, the 200 or so damage.
That was mean as well, Beast. Stealing away some puppies there that Spirit was trying to take down. And he's continuing this split push. This Rek'Sai is going to get huge.
You just get to these awkward sides of the game when Sivir has the most DPS possible, short of maybe subbing out a Phantom Dancer for the Static Shiv, and Kalista just has that situation where you buy the QSS and Last Whisper because it's the only real thing that fits in the build after the Hurricane.
Yeah, well, it's true. I mean, it's the 2-item spike that you really look for as a Kalista player when you're deciding to go for this Ren set build, but it is a bit awkward after that point.
I was speculating, personal speculation, that Black Cleaver might fit into the build.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you build a lot of health, so I mean, you're spending, of the 3,000 gold, you're spending a good 1,000, 1,500 gold on health, which isn't an ideal statistic for an AD carry, but it felt like the cooldown reduction and just the interactions in a team fight with the Ren sets might be a relevant statistic, but no one's tried it yet. But speaking of trying
Spirit's got hooked, though. The box came through as well. Spirit is going to survive this one, but Flandre's in there. Spirit, the only one hit by that shockwave, but Conan getting ripped apart. Aluka as well, very, very low. Beautiful 3-man knock-up, though, as Conan tries to get some work done. Mystic now in the backline. You just eliminates him, and that damage from this Orianna, that just makes it look unfair, and that is somehow a clean ace for Snake, and they're going to clean up this game.
And Mystic was licking his lips, actually flashed in aggressively, but the difference between Mystic's build and Crystal's build is that one crit, 550 damage.